Hey guys, welcome back to the Daily Departure. For those of you new here, I am a Chicago-based flight attendant and I make travel, flight attendant, and lifestyle videos. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notifications when I'm posting new videos. I wanted to make a video talking about one of my favorite travel topics, and that is solo travel. When I started flying 3 years ago, I had flight benefits and I wanted to use them to get out and see the world. But I didn't necessarily always have someone to travel with, so I had to take it upon myself to step out of my comfort zone and go on trips all by myself. My first ever solo trip was to the beautiful city of San Francisco, and I always considered this maybe like a half solo trip because I have a family that lives out there and I stayed with them. But while I was out in the city exploring in the daytime, I was all on my own, and the to and from there on the plane was solo, all by myself on my travel benefits. The next trip that I got to do was to Spain. I spent a couple days in Barcelona, and I also traveled solo to Portugal, Croatia, Slovakia, and Hungary. As well as that, I always sometimes think I do a lot of solo traveling because as a flight attendant, I have layovers in different cities, and a lot of time I just go off on my own and explore the city without my crew. I just love doing some good solo traveling. Why I love solo traveling is because it is a time for you to be off on your own and you get to make your own decisions and you get to call the shots on what you want to do, where you want to go, what you want to see, and where you want to eat. Also, in this, you will learn so much about yourself. I think people are always really intimidated by the idea of solo traveling, especially as a female, because you are out there on your own, most likely in a place that you have never been before, possibly in a country where you don't know the language or even how to get around. You are out there discovering new places and learning new things like how to get around all by yourself. My tip I always give to people looking to solo travel that are just afraid to do it because they are going to be alone, always be aware of your surroundings and what is going on. If you are meeting any strangers out there and talking to anyone, maybe don't share a lot of personal information like where you are staying or even maybe that you are traveling on your own. Just try to keep yourself safe. I'm not saying that everyone is a bad guy and that everyone you encounter on your solo trip is going to be out to get you. Definitely not, but it's always good to have those nice, safe travel practices when you are out there solo traveling. But if being safe is your biggest fear, I definitely think solo traveling is so much more than just being off on your own. If you don't want to do a solo travel because you don't think you are safe, I completely understand that, but again, don't let your fears hold you back from getting out and seeing the world. I have definitely been so empowered by going out and doing solo travel, and that is why I always recommend for people to do it at least once. You don't have to do everything solo. You don't have to do every single trip solo. I highly encourage you to do it at least once. And again, you don't even need to do a big trip like I did to another country. You can do it to another city, another state. You can do it to another country if you want, but I think it doesn't even have to be that, adventurous of a solo trip. It's just more about going off and doing something for yourself, all by yourself. It can be so empowering and you will learn so much about yourself. So I'm going to share with you some of the things I learned about myself while traveling. I learned how to entertain myself a lot because sometimes I would go on these trips for 3, 4, 5 days and I really didn't interact with a lot of strangers while I was out and about, so I really had a lot of time to be with myself. One of the times I traveled, I was in Germany because I had a connection to go to Croatia, and I had to sit at the airport for like 6 or 7 hours. And I had to entertain myself that whole time. I had to find a place in the airport that was safe, that I could be on my own with my bags if I wanted to close my eyes, for a second, because the traveling had really worn me out. I could do that. And it was just great because I had to entertain myself. I got to sit and edit my photos, sit down and plan more of my trip. When I was in Croatia also, I took a bus to another city and that took a few hours. So again, I had to entertain myself on that bus ride. When I was in Budapest, I took a trip to Slovakia. So that was about 3 hours on the train. Another time where I had to sit and entertain myself for a long extended period of time and I didn't have another person to hang out with. One of the biggest things you will learn is how to problem solve. Sometimes you get to a new city and you might not know how to get around, let's say, so you have to problem solve in that moment. You got to figure out how you are going to get from the airport to your hotel or hostel that you're staying at. You need to be in charge of your own decisions in that moment. You know, maybe you could phone a friend who has been there before and can give you some tips. Maybe you can Google it and find it out. Or you can go and ask one of the workers at the information booth of how to get around. I know that was something I struggled with a lot of the time. I'd be like, how do I get around? How do I buy a Metro Pass? Which is the best Metro Pass to buy? And I didn't necessarily research that ahead of time because I was new to solo traveling, but I had to figure it out in the moment. The problem might even be as small as, where do I want to go and eat today? But you are traveling solo, so you get to make that decision on your own. And that is one of the best parts about solo traveling, is that you get to call the shots and choose what you want to do. Now, my biggest problem with solo traveling, and something I definitely had to learn, is how to find a stranger to take the perfect travel photo of you. Now, this is definitely something that I struggled with, and looking back at some of my past trips, I'm like, man, I do not have enough pictures of myself in some of these awesome destinations, because sometimes I was too afraid to ask a stranger to take a photo, or I was worried that if I had them take a picture, it wouldn't turn out. I got really lucky sometimes. Like one of the times I was in Portugal and I was in this overlook. It was absolutely stunning and it took my breath away. I didn't even realize I was walking up to it when I was looking at my map. I was like, I need a picture in front of this. And I found a guy who took a picture of me, and it was one of my favorite travel photos I've ever had. But on the other hand, you might have a stranger that takes a picture of you and it just does not turn out. When I was in Croatia, I actually had a situation happen to me where I wanted a picture in front of this gorgeous sunset that was on the waterfront, and I had like 3 different people take pictures of me. Who would take this photo and do this to me? I just wanted a picture in front of the sunset, not literally in front of the sunset. But solo traveling can be so fun because you are making memories all for yourself. And I know you might think, well, why do I want these memories made and no one else to have experienced them with me? The best part about making the memories on your own is that now they are stories for you to tell. Because no one was there to witness these experiences with you, you will have an array of stories to share with people about your time traveling solo in a country or a city that you were off on your own adventuring. And if you are willing to chat up strangers and meet new people, you have the opportunity to engage with a lot of people in a different place that you have never met before, and you can meet some really interesting people while you are out traveling. You may even meet someone else who is out traveling solo and get to spend part of the day with them, or just connect with someone. Especially if you are in a different country, you might be able to connect with someone, and when you go back home, still be in contact with them via social media. And it's just super cool, the different people out in the world that you can meet, especially if you are out solo traveling. Again, with this, always take precautions, be safe, never give out too much information, especially if you are traveling alone. Still be willing and open-minded to meet different people. And if you are like me and you have travel benefits and non-revving when you are solo traveling, the best part about that is you don't ever have to wait and look on flight loads for another person. All you have to do is worry about yourself. So if you are trying to get that premium seat, business class seat, or first class seat, you never have another non-rev that you're traveling with to compete against. It's just you out there traveling, trying to get business class all by your solo self. In the past, when I've traveled with my sister or my boyfriend, you might have to decide if only one person gets that seat. So if you are doing solo travel, it's all about you. You get to call the shots and make your own decisions. You have no one else to worry about but yourself. So in sum, solo traveling is definitely something I would recommend you do. To everyone who loves traveling, go out and do a solo trip all by yourself. You are going to learn so much about yourself, how you work in different situations, and how you make decisions. There is just a wealth of knowledge to be learned about yourself. So that is why I always recommend people to do a solo trip. And again, it doesn't have to be far, it doesn't have to be long. It's just you stepping out of your comfort zone, throwing away your fears, and doing something for yourself. And I know in the midst of this quarantine, when I'm creating this video, we are not out and traveling the world, but I hope this video encouraged you to get out and travel when all this is over, and even to do it by yourself. And with solo traveling, remember, don't ever miss out on the world because you're waiting for someone else. Go ahead and take that trip you want to take, travel to that country you've been wanting to go to, and just do it all by yourself. You got this. You can always check out my travel photos as well as some of my solo travel photos on my Instagram. And you can always check out some of my blog posts on thedailydeparture.com to see some of my trip guides on trips I did solo. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to The Daily Departure and hit that bell icon so you get notifications when I'm posting new videos. I would love to hear some of your favorite trips you've ever gone on, especially if they were a solo trip, so go ahead and comment those down below, or comment a solo trip you look forward to taking soon. And I will see you later on The Daily Departure.